She's like, well, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I'm sure you've heard that one before. Or most married guys, when they're living in sexless relationships or marriages or whatever, that's usually the case. I love you. You're such a great guy, but I'm not in love with you. If that conversation, by the way, if that realization happens for women earlier on, like while they're still single, that's when you get the wait for me speech, right? Or the wait for me joke. It's the Friends, the Ross and Rachel situation, right? Well, if we're both, when we get to hit 30, if we're both single, then we'll get married because you're such a great guy. Oh, thanks. You're such a great girl. Well, we're going to go and experience our 20s and bang whoever we want, try to find the guy who's the best fit for us. But if we don't find that guy or that girl, then we're just going to then you're going to get married at 30 years old. You give a guy that kind of hope, he's going to probably just be like try to wait. He's going to play the long game for like a decade and hope that Rachel is still going to be into him when he hits 30. And hopefully he'll have made partner in the law firm or whatever. What was Ross? Ross was an anthropologist. He dinosaur, doctor by that time. And so he's making money. And that is the most fucked up joke I think I have ever heard, because it essentially belittles, let's just say, men's sexual strategy, and at the same time it maximizes and optimizes women's sexual strategy. Only in the 90s is that a funny joke, because most guys, in prior generations would have said, screw you, I'm going to go do what I'm going to do, kind of thing. I can take a hint. I get it when in fact, I would say prior generations, that discussion or that joke wouldn't even have happened, but it happens, or it's funny, or we can understand it. It's relatable because we understand women's innate, I think on some level, their innate sexual strategy, which is alpha fucks, beta bucks. What is this guy? What do you think this guy, where does he fall under? Is she making rules for him, or is she breaking rules for him? She will break rules for guys who rock her world, who she wants to, get off the moment they get in the door. She'll break those rules, literally breaking a very, her vow or marriage vows to do that. But she will still make rules for him if he even refers or talks about like women at work or something like that. I can't remember what he was saying, but you get the picture. Those are the rules. You're not supposed to talk to anybody, blah, 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 blah. Well, meanwhile, she's banging those other guys. And she probably has no concept of the cognitive dissonance that is part of this. Now, I don't want to get too analytical here because, yes, it's a waste of time. As I said before, the moment she cheats is the moment you hit the point of diminishing returns with that woman. Now, I will reiterate this. This is straight out of my first book, and I think I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact words. But when a woman cheats on you, that's an automatic next. You want to know why the seventh iron rule of Tomasi is never root through garbage once you've taken the can out to the curb, because what you thought was valuable inside the trash is never worth looking for. It's not what you thought it was, and people see you getting yourself filthy in the trash. And the reason for that is because it is always time better spent developing new relationships and new women and new perspective and developing new plates. Hopefully you take me seriously when it comes to plate theory and dating non-exclusively. But it's time better spent developing new relationships, or going out and just approaching, right, is a better use of your time than trying to repair a relationship like this. Who's going to tell this guy, you know what? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You need to get with this girl. Who's going to say that? There's a lot of guys that will. There's a lot of women that will, and we're going to look at one here in just a second. Oh, that's okay. She's just self-mutilating. She has real problems. She's dealing with depression, and her form of catharsis is to random guys for 6 hours at a clip. That sounds like logic. That sounds like, oh, well, I'm a victim anyways, or I'm vulnerable, and so therefore I can use that. It's the same rationality that Jada Pinkett Smith was using when she got caught, and she tried to spin it as if it's an entanglement. Well, stop acting so crazy. We all do. It's all about love, and it's like, and whatever Oprah-esque, euphemism we can throw out there. The fact of the matter is that mentality, or that lack of cognitive dissonance, is a key function of hypergamy. If I can convince myself that it's okay to go and break rules for the alphas that I knock it out with, and I can still expect this guy to, first of all, not to be a provider and invested in me, and I love him. You're the first guy I've ever loved. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a pretty fucked up place to be, because that's what you're doing. That's the sort of the arrangement. You remember why I was talking about how human beings are innately promiscuous, but we are monogamous by choice. That choice has to have compromise, has to include compromise. Prior to the sexual revolution, prior to hormonal birth control, women will say, well, we were this patriarchal society repressed women's sexuality. Yeah. As a function of that compromise, and also ideally would repress men's sexual interests and men's innate mating strategy as well. Because it was not a good thing for you to commit adultery. We used to have, did you ever read, when you were in high school, did you ever read a book called this? Maybe you don't now, but I remember when I was in high school, you had to read this book called The Scarlet Letter. And if there was an adulteress in, I think it was colonial America, there was an adulteress and she had to wear the scarlet letter as an A on her chest, right? Because she was an adulteress. And I think the whole book was like how she wasn't, and they were trying to, prove her innocence kind of thing. But it was like this illustration of a society that actually respected the compromise, the legalistic compromise, or the agreement that, okay, if we're going to be in a marriage together, I will forsaking all others. That's part of the traditional marriage vows. Till death do us part, sickness and in health, for richer or for poor, to love, honor, and obey. Right, forsaking all others. That's also part of that as well. That applies to the guy, and it should have applied to the guy and the girl way back in the day. Now we're going to make up our own subjective, vows and go, well, we're going to live our truth. Some new age bullshit vows, right? But the old school, under old school marriage, at least as part of the conventional marriage vows, that was included. So it was a compromise of men's innate mating strategy versus a compromise of women's innate mating strategy. Old order thinking, but probably like 19th, 18th century thinking even. So there was a reason that existed, because we understood women's nature and men's nature in ways that we at least are, if we're not oblivious to, we're just conveniently ignore. And this is one of those episodes right now where we look at the conflict between that compromise, and really that's what monogamy is. It's a compromise of our innate mating strategies to do something in favor of parental investment. We have to invest in our offspring. We have to have, okay, I promise to protect you, provide for you, and be parentally invested. That's the 3 Ps of the beta buck side of hypergamy. The alpha fuck side, the alpha seed side, is where this chick is at right now. And so essentially what she's doing is she's trying to balance the hypergamous equation. I love you. I don't know why I do these things. I beat myself up. It's a bad thing that I do these, but you should feel sorry for me because I can't figure these things out. I have a problem. I have a disease. I have a psychological disorder, whatever it is. I'm self-mutilating by having sex with somebody was saying in the chat she should start an OnlyFans channel, and she probably already has. If she hasn't, she's probably making a good chunk of change on this. An adulterous woman will lie, eat spit, and say she's done no wrong. Proverbs. Okay, yeah, maybe that. Okay, you could probably find similar quotes in the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, wherever else. But yeah, you're right. It's commonly known, or at least it's better understood, I think,